The robots.txt file is an important file that lives in the root of your directory on your website. This signals to search engines like Google what you want them to access and what you don't want them to access. For example, if you have a folder that you don't want indexed, you could add that in there. If you have specific files or other types of information that you don't want indexed, you could add that in there. For example, if you have some sort of internet-based administration system that you're using to administer your website outside of WordPress or something like that, you could add that in there. But there are some things to watch out for here. Now, if you are using the robots.txt, it's not 100% necessary, but it is good practice to use the robots.txt. So, and again, this is an on-site SEO component. So it's within your control and you can do it, so why not do it? Now, there are some examples of how you can use the robots.txt. Here it shows where we can show where our sitemap is located. We can tell spam bots not to crawl the whole website itself by doing this disallow. There's a further robots.txt tutorial here on SEO book. tools.seobook.com/robots-txt. This tells you kind of how to do pretty much the important things within the robots.txt file. You can allow an indexing of everything by simply copying and pasting this in user-agent star and then disallow with nothing after it. Or you could just a user-agent star and then allow with the forward slash. The forward slash basically is just indicating the entire index of your website. Then you can disallow indexing of everything, which is not recommended, obviously, because you want Google to index your website. But if you were, say, for example, just starting out and you didn't want Google to index anything yet, you could do a disallow for the time being. But of course, don't forget to change that over. Also, WordPress does have a button that allows you to tell Google not to index whatever's on there, but again, I wouldn't recommend clicking that button. So here we can also disallow indexing specific folders. Now, what you need to be careful of are the fact that hackers love to check robots.txt files. So if you're telling Google not to index, say, in an administration folder, hackers could uncover that information. So it's not 100% recommended that you do something like that. Now, you could use htaccess, which would be better in my recommendation, because you could limit access to a folder, say, by an IP address or by some other means. You could also use the meta robots. If, for example, you're not using WordPress and you want to tell a specific page that it shouldn't be indexed, you could use this meta name equals robots with the no index, no follow at the top. Here it's spelled out right here for you. You would stick this into the heading tag of your page. Now, if you're not a web developer, this might seem confusing to you, but if you aren't, then it's not something that you have to worry about right now. But in essence, you're just telling it not to index this page. So it does have some security implications, so you have to be wary of it. But it is a file that you should put in there. It's a good best practice to have. You could also use that to indicate where the sitemap is. Now, the sitemap can also be placed into Webmaster Tools. So if you haven't already set up Google Webmaster Tools, then you absolutely must do that. So you want Google Webmaster Tools set up along with Google Analytics. And within Google Webmaster Tools, you can indicate where your sitemap is located, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But as a best use practice, you could also include that link within the robots.txt file. So keep this in mind. It's good to have the robots.txt file out there, and these are just some best practices on what you should do.